After the runaway success of the Star Wars trilogy of films in the 1970s and 80s, franchise creator George Lucas authorized the creation of numerous spin-offs in the form of video games, television shows, comic books, and novels. These spin-offs would later colloquially be known as the Star Wars Expanded Universe, now known as Legends since Disney wiped the slate clean with their acquisition of Lucasfilm and Star Wars in 2012. These legends were met with varying degrees of both commercial and critical success, ranging from the fan base and creator unilaterally ignoring their existence to integral pieces of lore adopted by the franchise as a whole. Long before Disney's sequel films, before Lucas began toying with his own ideas for a sequel trilogy, before even the prequel trilogy was announced, writer Timothy Zahn authored another trilogy, a series of books that would become beloved pieces of the Star Wars saga and introduce ideas like Coruscant and the Chiss to the mythos. Many see these books, the Thrawn Trilogy, as the first and true sequels. This is the story of the first book in the trilogy, Heir to the Empire. Before we get started, I would like to kindly ask you to like and subscribe if you enjoy these lore and explanation videos, and please ring the bell so you never miss an upload. I know, everyone asks you to do that, but doing it really helps out the channel and lets me grow my little project here and get more content to you more quickly. A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away. It has been 5 years since the rebellion defeated the Empire at the Battle of Endor. Both Darth Vader and the Emperor are dead. The second Death Star has been destroyed before it could ever be used, and what little is left of the Imperial fleet has been pushed back into only a fourth of the territory they once held. Princess Leia Organa of Alderaan and the smuggler-turned-war hero Han Solo have taken on substantial roles in the government of the New Republic, have married, and are expecting twins. Luke Skywalker is a Jedi Knight, the first in what he hopes to be a new Jedi Order. In a distant backwater of what remains of Imperial space, several TIE Fighter scout ships exit lightspeed and join the Chimera, a star destroyer helmed by Captain Gilad Pellaeon. The Chimera is crewed by mostly well-trained but young and inexperienced officers, after a majority of the Empire's hierarchy was killed at the Battle of Endor, both facts that embitter the aging Pellaeon. A young officer reports to Pellaeon that the returning ships were successful in their mission to gather information, but were pursued. They do not believe they were followed back to the Chimera. After a brief encounter with Rook, a Noghri assassin and bodyguard, Pellaeon reports this to his own superior, Grand Admiral Thrawn, in the Admiral's personal study and alien art gallery. Thrawn is a cunning military tactician and an alien known as a Chiss, blue humanoids with glowing red eyes. Thrawn's brilliance led him to gaining the Emperor's favor and the title Warlord in the unknown regions. He is also the only non-human to ascend to the rank of Grand Admiral. Thrawn does not believe that the scout ships lost their pursuers, but does not fret over it. Instead, he discusses the holographic art hanging in the gallery with Pellaeon, telling the captain that he should make time to study the art of other cultures. When a small fleet of New Republic ships exits lightspeed near the Chimera, Thrawn calms the crew and orders simple maneuvers, sacrificing one scout ship to the confusion of Pellaeon. From the tactics used by the Republic ships to destroy a single scout, the Grand Admiral is able to deduce that the commanding officer of the Republic contingent is an Ysalamiri, and he uses this knowledge to utterly destroy the rebel agitators with a clever counterattack. Using the information collected by the returning TIEs, Thrawn then orders the Chimera to head to a planet called Myrkr, a world that the Old Republic and Jedi Order avoided for nearly 300 years. On the Republic capital of Coruscant, Luke says goodbye to the ghost of Obi-Wan Kenobi, who is finding it increasingly difficult to visit Luke. Echoes of the Emperor's dark presence can still be felt within the capital's palace, and both Luke and Leia have been stressed and on edge. Across the galaxy, Han Solo and Chewbacca meet an old contact named Dravis in Mos Eisley on Tatooine. Dravis is skeptical of Han after hearing that the smuggler has gone respectable, but Han tells his old friend that the New Republic is short on goods and skilled pilots, and are looking to hire smugglers to move cargo and kickstart interstellar trade. Dravis agrees to pass the offer on, and lets Han know that Talon Karrde is the new big fish in the smuggling pond after the death of Jabba the Hutt. At his headquarters on Myrkr, Talon Karrde offers to train a secretive woman named Mara Jade to become his second in command, despite her only being in his employ for a little over 5 months. She is skeptical at his offer, but Karrde recognizes Mara Jade as a skilled and talented woman more than capable of taking on a more serious role in his organization. Their conversation is cut short when the Chimera appears in orbit above Myrkr, dispatching 2 shuttles to the surface. Karrde hails Captain Pellaeon to inquire about the visit, wryly letting on that he and his people know about the Empire's recent secretive activities and that Grand Admiral Thrawn is on board the Chimera. Karrde deduces that the Empire is on Myrkr to capture some Ysalamiri, furry tree-dwelling lizards native to the planet that can neutralize the ability of Force users, and offers to help the Imperials extract a few free of charge, a move designed so that Karrde can keep an eye on the landing party while they are on the planet. After getting some Ysalamiri and Myrkr trees transferred onto the Chimera, Thrawn then instructs the Star Destroyer to head to a planet called Wayland. The Grand Admiral, Pellaeon, and Rook make their way down to the surface of Wayland with a Ysalamiri, where they search for a dark Jedi meant to guard a storehouse left on the planet by the Emperor. They meet Jorus C'baoth, ruler of the planet, who leads the party into a crypt of the Guardian, where hundreds of candles flicker in the darkness. Jorus tells them that the candles mark the graves of offworlders that he has killed who had previously sought the Guardian. Jorus spins around and shoots salvo after salvo of Force lightning at Thrawn and his party, but to no effect. The Ysalamiri protect against the Force completely. C'baoth stops his assault and wishes to learn of this power, leading the party into a private chamber. Thrawn states that they are in search of a cloaking shield technology in the Emperor's storehouse, and what Thrawn describes as another trivial bit of technology, and that he wishes to recruit the services of a Jedi Master. He explains that it was the Emperor's unseen manipulations through his will and the Force that the Empire's ships were so well coordinated and efficient in battle. Thrawn wishes for C'baoth to help coordinate the remaining fleet in a similar way, and he agrees, only if C'baoth is delivered Luke, Leia, and Leia's unborn children for training in the ways of the Jedi. As they are about to leave Wayland, Pellaeon raises his concerns about C'baoth's mental stability, concerns that Thrawn echoes, because, as the Grand Admiral reveals, this man was not Jorus C'baoth. Jorus C'baoth was dead, and Thrawn had killed him, in secret in the Outer Rim at Palpatine's command, before the Clone Wars had broken out. Thrawn deduces that this man, Jorus C'baoth, was a clone of the original Jedi Master, mentally and emotionally unstable, as was a common defect in many early models of clones. Back on Coruscant, Han delivers news that the smugglers won't commit to the New Republic, to the criticism of Admiral Ackbar. Han, Leia, Luke, Chewie, and the droids then head to Bpfassh, in hopes of getting the native Bims to join the New Republic. Weapons aren't allowed in the Bim City, so the party leaves their blasters aboard the Millennium Falcon. The Bims do not appear bothered by Luke's lightsaber, or do not know that it's a weapon. Before the negotiations are to begin, the Bims inform them that they must delay slightly as their primary diplomat has suddenly fallen ill. The Bim delegation suggests giving Leia a tour of the city's marketplace. Han accompanies them as Luke explores the city's Tower of Law. Though Luke did not sense anything duplicitous in the Bim delegation beyond normal political maneuvering, Han and Leia's escort disappears in the marketplace. They are suddenly ambushed by nearly a dozen Noghri soldiers, while Luke is attacked by several others in the tower. Though he tries to escape, Luke is forced to kill his Noghri pursuers, while Han and Leia pretend to steal some jewelry to start a small riot in the marketplace. The party uses the confusion to escape to the Millennium Falcon and into light speed, despite Leia's protests. The party agree that it was time to continue Leia's Jedi training, for both her own protection and that of her unborn children. On the Chimera, Pellaeon informs Thrawn of the Noghri failure on Bpfassh, to the annoyance of C'baoth. Thrawn assures the Jedi Masters that he will deliver the Skywalkers to him. Pellaeon confirms that they have the means to build the Emperor's cloaking technology, and Thrawn orders its immediate construction as well as the acquisition of 40 mole miner ships. He also orders another group of Noghri to attempt capture of the Skywalkers, though both Pellaeon and C'baoth agree that they should focus on Leia. Pellaeon suggests spreading rumors of Jorus C'baoth that might entice Luke to come to them of his own volition, and Thrawn and C'baoth both agree that the plan is sound. Under C'baoth's coordination through the Force, the Chimera and several other destroyers exit hyperspace over the planet Bpfassh, while 2 other contingents attack 2 other systems. However, Thrawn explicitly orders all fighters to damage and frighten any defense forces encountered instead of completely obliterating them. Shortly after the attack begins, Thrawn orders all units to withdraw despite the Imperials operating at 40% greater efficiency than normal. Pellaeon realizes that this was a test of both C'baoth's abilities and his own willingness to follow orders. Han interrupts Luke and Leia as she trains with her new lightsaber to inform them of the 3 Imperial attacks. The Council agrees that the Empire is up to something, and Mon Mothma wants Leia to travel to Bpfassh to reassure the locals that the New Republic is willing and able to protect them. The Bpfasshi had issues with a Dark Jedi during the Clone Wars, chasing them all the way to Dagobah. This piques Luke's interest, who has his own ship prepared to travel to the Swamp World. There, Luke and R2 find that Yoda's hut has been nearly completely reclaimed by nature, something the Jedi had not considered, having grown up in a desert. Luke asks R2 if he can sense any electronics in the area that Yoda might have left behind, and the droid leads him to the cave where he'd fought the shade of Vader. Inside, Luke is struck with a vision of their final battle with Jabba's gang above the Sarlacc pit on Tatooine. However, as the Jedi holds out his hand to catch the lightsaber launched at him by R2, it swerves out of his grasp and into the hands of a slender, red-headed woman on Jabba's barge, mocking him with a cruel laughter. The vision wanes, and Luke finds a small tube with buttons and switches on its side. Neither he nor R2 recognize it, but R2 recalls that Lando Calrissian once had a similar object. Leia, Han, and Wedge Antilles examine the damage on Bpfash's surface, wandering in craters left behind by the recent battle with other Republic officials. Han wonders if the Imperials were testing a new subspace communication system with the coordinated attack, but Leia fears that the Empire was instead using a Dark Jedi. Wedge suggests that it may be Joruus C'baoth, a pre-Empire Jedi who disappeared before the Clone Wars but seems to have popped up again in the minor world Jomark. Suddenly, several Noghri attack the party from the edges of the crater, but they soon appear to be saved when the Millennium Falcon appears overhead. However, before they board, Leia realizes that she cannot sense Chewie's presence on the ship, and the Falcon isn't blasting at the Noghri. It is a fake. Han, impressed that the Empire managed to find another operational YT-1300 light freighter, uses Leia's lightsaber to disable the imposter ship, as the real Falcon and X-Wings fly overhead and the Noghri retreat. Though Ackbar suggests bringing Leia back to Coruscant for protection, Han isn't sure that someone in the New Republic isn't feeding the Empire her whereabouts. Instead, he suggests using an independent party's contacts to hide and protect Leia, an old friend, Lando Calrissian. Han, Leia, and Luke all arrive at Lando's operation in the Athega system at roughly the same time, on the harsh mining world Nkllon and the massive, walking, nomad city. The planet is closer to the sun it orbits than normal, and exposure to direct sunlight is dangerous even to ships and structures. Built from the shell from a massive Dreadnought-class cruiser, Nomad City is mounted atop 40 captured AT-ATs, so it could constantly move and stay in the safety of the side of Nkllon, shrouded in night. But before they can even land on Nomad City, their comms are jammed and a Star Destroyer appears out of light speed above Nkllon. The destroyer scrambles a single squadron of TIE fighters and ships that the party assume are troop transports, and Lando dispatches his own fighters to protect Nomad City. During the brief skirmish, Luke reaches out with the Force to help guide his flying. Through the Force, a voice calls out to Luke and tells him to search and find them so that the Jedi may rise again. During this contact, Luke somehow lost half an hour, and after a couple TIE fighters are destroyed, the Imperials retreat. The short conflict was a distraction, however. Those troop transports were in reality used to commandeer the mole miner ships working for Nomad City. On the Chimera, C'baoth confirms to Thrawn that they have stolen 51 of them, more than Thrawn needs for his machinations. On Nomad City, Lando laments the loss of nearly half of his workforce. Luke shows him the device recovered from Dagobah, which Lando identifies as a pre-Clone War short-range signal transmitter called a beacon call, which can control ships that it's paired with. Han and Leia explain the situation to him, and Lando offers to help them in whatever way he can, though he doesn't know a code slicer that he trusts with Leia's life that can keep her in secure contact with Coruscant while in hiding. The closest Lando can offer is a name, Talon Karrde, though Han hasn't been able to contact him. Chewbacca offers to take Leia to the Wookiee homeworld of Kashyyyk, where off-worlders are generally unwelcome and the environment can be inhospitable. The party splits, with Lando offering Chewie and Leia his own ship, the Lady Luck, while he travels with Han to meet Karrde. Leia passes on the rumors about C'baoth to Luke, who travels to Jomark in search of the Jedi. Despite their careful planning, Thrawn deduces their plan, and that Leia is being taken to Kashyyyk. The Chimera intercepts Luke on his way to Jomark, and though he is able to escape, Luke damages his hyperdrive during his jump to light speed. Thrawn is aware of this and puts a bounty of 30,000 credits on Luke's capture, deciding it better to subcontract so the Chimera can prepare for future plans. A short time later, Luke is rescued by the Wild Karrde, the personal ship of Talon Karrde. On board, Karrde lets Luke know that he is aware of exactly who Skywalker is, and explains that it was his lieutenant Mara Jade who led them to Luke through use of the Force. Cautious but curious, Luke reaches out to Mara Jade, but the Jedi is jolted by her black and bitter hatred for him. Before Luke can react, Karrde apologizes and shocks Luke with a stunning weapon, knocking the Jedi Knight into unconsciousness. Leia and Chewie arrive at Rurok-Roro, the Wookiee capital city on Kashyyyk, a massive complex suspended in midair and supported entirely by the massive branches of the local flora. Here they are greeted by Ral Rachin, a former Imperial slave with a speech impediment that allows off-worlders to more easily understand him, and Salpirin, a childhood friend of Chewie's. Both have been assigned to help protect Leia, and despite her nervousness, Wookiees were not known to be kind to off-worlders. Ralra explains that the New Republic helped liberate the Wookiees, and that they owe Leia a life debt. Several days later, Luke awakens on Myrkr unable to use his Jedi powers or senses, in a room with Mara Jade, who has taken his lightsaber. Mara Jade takes Luke to Karrde, who explains that the Empire has a bounty on Luke's capture, and questions why they have a sudden interest in Skywalker. Luke confirms the renewed Imperial vigor for his capture, as well as the capture of his sister, and in return, Karrde describes the force-negating effects of the local Ysalamiri. Regardless, Karrde is willing to negotiate, hoping to maneuver a solution to Luke's predicament that would keep him in the good graces of both the Empire and the Republic. Han and Lando arrive in the Abrogado system, where they subtly rescue their contact, Finn Torv, in a casino. On the Falcon, Torv agrees to take the pair to Karrde as thanks for helping him out, and because his own ship has been impounded. Karrde has Luke move to a storage shed in his X-Wing into the forest, planning to have Han and Lando stay the night on Myrkr as to convince the pair that Skywalker was never on the planet should the need arise. Luke searches the shed and discovers that R2 is in the building's second room, and the pair manage to escape, powering the shed door by connecting it to Luke's mechanical hand. Karrde hears out Han and Lando's offer to ship cargo for the Republic, but politely declines, concerned that it would look like his organization was taking sides. Han then asks Karrde if he has a talented code slicer under his employ, and Karrde offers to introduce them to his personal slicer, a young man named Gint, at dinner. However, the meal is interrupted when the Chimera appears in orbit, with Thrawn himself departing from Myrkr's surface to gather more Ysalamiri, discuss the acquisition of new warships, and Karrde's apparent refusal to aid in the search for Skywalker. After narrowly escaping the attention of Mara Jade, Luke and R2 steal one of Karrde's ships in hope of getting off-planet, but they can't get out of the atmosphere with the Chimera in orbit. Mara Jade hears the ship taking off and gives pursuit in another, the chase ending when both ships crash in the forest. When the Imperials land, Karrde lies and says a disgruntled employee stole and crashed the first ship, and Thrawn insists on sending his own stormtroopers to rescue the survivors. Han, Lando, and Gint observe from a distance before retreating to the safety of the hidden Millennium Falcon. During this time, Gint lets slip that Karrde was holding a prisoner that had to be moved to a storage shed recently. Luke awakens shortly after the crash and helps R2 off the ruined ship. He then goes to check on the other ship for survivors, finding Mara Jade conscious and pointing her blaster straight at his face. She holds Luke and R2 at gunpoint, waiting for Karrde to send to their rescue, but all three retreat into the tree line after spotting an Imperial shuttle headed their way. Stormtroopers search the wreckage, departing when they find nothing, though Mara Jade says they cannot return to the crash site. The stormtroopers will have left behind sensors to pick up any visitors. Luke briefly questions why Mara Jade knows so much about Imperial procedure, before asking why she didn't turn him over. Mara Jade says that she hates Luke because he destroyed her life and has wanted to kill him for a long time, but needs to contact Karrde and see what cover he came up with for the chase before she decides anything. She cannot, with Imperials likely monitoring communications in the area. Luke suggests that R2 could send an encrypted message through his X-Wing, a plan that conveniently keeps both of them alive for the time being. She eventually concedes, knowing that if they didn't return to the base, Thrawn would have Karrde interrogated and executed. Mara Jade privately decides that nothing in this wilderness, be it beast or stormtrooper, was going to kill Luke Skywalker. She was going to do that herself. After Thrawn leaves, Han and Lando question why Karrde is hosting Imperial officers at his base, but Karrde insists that they are not working for the Empire, only helping them collect some local wildlife. Han is skeptical and tells the smuggler that they'll just say goodbye and leave the planet, but Karrde reminds them that they cannot leave until the Star Destroyer in orbit has left. Han agrees, but he and Lando will still wait on the Falcon. On their way back to the ship, Han and Lando investigate the storage shed the prisoner was being held in, discovering several clues that suggest the prisoner was Luke Skywalker, something Karrde confirms as he arrives. He also lets them know that Luke escaped and was being chased by Mara Jade, who wants Luke dead. Karrde, however, has no such desire, telling the pair that Luke would be dead if they hadn't rescued him from space, swatting Han's blaster from his face. Now, back in orbit, Thrawn deduces the area that the crashed pilots will be heading, and dispatches several bike scouts and stormtroopers to intercept them, and piecing together that Karrde seemingly refused to help in the search for Luke, believes that the escaping pilot may have been Skywalker himself. Still, Thrawn says that the Chimera cannot stay above Myrkr. Their planned assault on Sluis van cannot be moved, and the soldiers they leave behind should be enough. At his base, Karrde mulls over ways to convince Han and Lando that he is on their side, something he feels is necessary because they are his guests. He tells an underling to gather a party to search for Luke and Mara Jade the next day, and to liberate them from stormtroopers if necessary. There will be no shortage of volunteers. Many of the smugglers believe they owe Skywalker for taking down Jabba the Hutt, and, as a result, clearing their debts. Karrde concludes that, one way or another, his life on Myrkr is at an end. Through R2, Karrde sends Mara Jade a message warning of the stormtroopers waiting for them at their destination, and that Karrde's men, along with Han and Lando, will help rescue them. On Kashyyyk, Leia is awakened in the middle of the night by a Noghri grabbing her wrist. She is able to free herself and kill the Noghri with her lightsaber, but is attacked by another from behind. However, after a brief moment, the Noghri says something that she does not understand and lets her go, in time for Chewbacca to arrive and knock the creature unconscious. Rara also arrives and tells her that Salpiran has been killed, and that a fire has been set nearby so any alarms they raise will go unnoticed. Leia tries to convince Chewbacca and Rara to stay behind to heal, but they see through this as her attempt to draw the Noghri's attention away from the Wookiees. No, they will all escape together. Taking the unconscious Noghri prisoner, the three make it to the Lady Luck and leave Kashyyyk's atmosphere. Leia talks to their Noghri prisoner, asking why they stopped their attack. The Noghri, named Kabarak, smells Leia's hand and bows before her, proclaiming her Mal Arayush, daughter and heir to the Dark Lord, Darth Vader. Vader had previously lifted the Noghri from despair, and they served as his personal bodyguards until his death. Since then, they have been serving whom they thought to be his heir, the Emperor and Thrawn. Leia says she will do what she can for the Noghri, as Vader had, but she must be taken to their homeworld. Kabarak agrees, but she must come alone. During their travels, Luke saves Mara Jade from a wild predator using his lightsaber, which he surrenders back to Mara Jade as a sign of trust. Luke wants to know why Mara Jade hates him, and she reveals that she was undercover as a dancer at Jabba's palace when Luke, Leia, Lando, and Chewbacca rescued Han Solo, sent by the Emperor himself. She was the Emperor's hand, a secret, Force-sensitive operative that would do his bidding. But now that he was dead, she has nothing, and no one in the remnants of the Empire has any idea who she is. She worked hard to crawl out of the galaxy's underbelly and earn a place in Karrde's organization, and now Mara Jade is frustrated that Luke seems to be ruining her life yet again. As the trio comes up on the settlement, they switch roles in an attempt to bluff the stormtroopers. Mara Jade is initially uneasy about giving Luke a loaded weapon, but eventually concedes, and the Jedi Knight hides his lightsaber within R2. To further hide Luke's identity, Mara Jade picks some leaves off a nearby plant and brushes them against Luke's arm. Where it touches swells and grows red. Luke is allergic to the alien flora. They then rub some across his face, further obscuring the famous visage of Luke Skywalker. A pair of biker scouts soon come across them, with Luke identifying himself as a bounty hunter working for Karrde. The Imperials take them back to the nearby settlement, where they meet up with another group holding Han Solo prisoner. Han assures Luke that this is all part of their plan, and that Lando is with the rest of Karrde's men, hidden in the buildings of the settlement. A short ways into the village, they spring the trap, eliminating all of the Imperial forces in a spectacular display. Karrde knows that there will be no way to hide his involvement from a man as deductive as Thrawn, and with a great deal of sadness, orders his men to start evacuating the planet. Han, Luke, Lando, and the droids gather Luke's X-Wing and leave Myrkr, with Han noticing how well Luke and Mara seem to be getting on. Before heading back to Coruscant, Han decides to swing by the nearby Sluis shipyards to repair Luke's X-Wing and get Lando some medical attention for a wound he received during the battle. But when they arrive, they find the shipyards under attack by Thrawn's Imperial forces. The cloaking technology the Chimera salvaged from the Emperor's storehouse allowed an entire freighter of TIE fighters and repurposed mole miners to approach Sluis Van unimpeded. Wedge Antilles and the rest of Rogue Squadron are on hand to defend the system, having been assigned to escort freighters to the shipyards. Thrawn uses the commandeered mole miners to burrow a hole into the Republic freighters in an attempt to steal them, all while TIE fighters and space troopers defend them. However, Thrawn has made an uncharacteristic oversight. He failed to jam the Republic comms. Before the Empire could abscond with the fleet, Lando uses his command codes to activate the mole miners, causing them to drill through the ships they had boarded, and frying all navigational equipment aboard. Thrawn recognizes his defeat and orders Pellaeon and the Imperial ships to retreat. He will not waste ships and soldiers on a battle that is lost, and there will be many more in the future. Despite their victory, over 40 Republic vessels were crippled during the assault, and Thrawn's campaign against the Republic has only just begun. As the battle calms, Luke, Han, and Lando receive a message from Leia, telling them that they must return to Coruscant immediately. Admiral Ackbar has been arrested for treason. Heir to the Empire was one of the first stories in the expanded universe that fans held up as nearly equal in quality and importance as George Lucas's episodic films. And looking at what exactly it introduced to the mythos, it's clear to see why. Characters like Talon Karrde, Mara Jade, and Captain Pellaeon became integral parts of the franchise. Thrawn himself, for whom the Thrawn Trilogy is obviously named, was such a popular addition that fans were clamoring for more stories with the Grand Admiral and Disney's new canon after the expanded universe was retired. And let's be frank, the reaction to his reveal in the Rebels animated series at Star Wars Celebration says more than any words possibly can.
Not simply that battle tactic.
The Star Wars franchise has become one of the deepest fictional universes in terms of its lore, in its Legends continuity, its official canon, and even in cut content. What other questions about the Star Wars universe do you want answered? And what other stories and franchises would you like explained? Let me know down in the comments below. And hey, please remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this and you want to see more lore and explanations. And don't forget to ring that bell if you want notifications every time I upload. Really, doing so helps a great deal more than you might expect. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.